Welcome to episode 4 of Highlighted, the All Sports Culture Podcast. I'm Sully. I got my man Kurt with me. We asked our followers to send in some questions on Instagram. We got a great response, so thank you for that. We're gonna go over all of those on today's episode. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Let's jump right into it. First question coming from Liam Schukel03 says the Vikings have probably the most potential to improve next season, but won't because Kirk. I don't know if I totally agree with this for two reasons. I don't really think that the Vikings have potential to improve based on their offseason and all of that. I kind of think that they don't – I don't think they improved a ton. And I also don't think Kirk is holding them back a ton either. I think Kirk he's decent. Although, I mean, if they had a top 5 QB, yeah, they'd probably be Super Bowl contenders. But I don't know if Kirk's holding them back from improving, if that makes any sense. What do you think?
I think with the Vikings team, you look at the draft, and a lot of people say they did have a great draft just because of the amount of draft picks they had and obviously getting so many players. But if you look at the free agency, they didn't really do anything that stood out to me that they would progress in such a way that makes them like a NFC championship team. So I think that you can't put the sole blame on Kirk because I think with Kirk, and I've said this before, I think he's just a guy who, because you look at him choking in primetime games, you want to make him out to be a bad quarterback when in all reality, he's actually a pretty decent quarterback. And I think that he is definitely not the reason why this team can't go far. But I think it's just kind of the supporting cast. Not to say that that Vikings team isn't good. I just think that there are other factors on why they're not getting farther in the playoffs and getting progressively better as a team instead of just kind of Kirk Cousins. So,
yeah, I agree with that. Next question, we got Uribe13. He says, in 5 years, who will be better, Burrow, Tua, or Herbert? I mean, that's a pretty good question. I think all QBs honestly have a lot of potential in the NFL. I'd probably go with Burrow just because I do think he's very, very good. I think he's going into a very good offense, better than Tua is and better than Herbert is, although Herbert has a pretty decent offense as well. But I think the Bengals offense is set up just for Burrow to be very, very good in the future. But honestly, I also could see Herbert being it. I was a Herbert guy for a while. We talked about this in the last podcast, but if you put a gun to my head, I would say Burrow. What would you say?
Yeah, so for me, everyone likes to kind of look at their talent, but I think a huge thing is kind of the fit and the scheme of what team they're on. So I think with Burrow, you look at the Bengals, and obviously right now the Bengals aren't the best team, but the narrative of they're never going to get to the playoffs is a false one because if you look at kind of what they did, that Bengals team from 2011 and 2015 under Dalton, they were actually a pretty successful football team. And I think that Burrow has a lot of potential to be better than Andy Dalton. So I think that, if all things kind of go well, no major injuries happen to him, then I think that that Bengals team led by him could be very good. You look at Tua and, same thing kind of with them. Miami's building a supporting cast under Tua. The biggest thing is if he can kind of stay off the injuries. And I think a big factor of that is kind of, not rushing him in. So, but with Herbert, that Chargers team, I think they're in a little bit of a weird situation because like we made that post on All Sports Culture, they kind of have a lot of free agents in 2021. So it'll be, a lot of that team kind of falling apart. So I don't think that Herbert is going to have the best fit with the Chargers. So for me, I would go Burrow with that Bengals just because I think that in 5 years, you're going to see progressiveness from Burrow and that Bengals offense. And I think that they could be a really good team actually in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Just don't sleep on Herbert, baby.
Yeah.
Is a GOAT.
Right.
All right, moving on. We got I use this to DM people. Great username, gotta say. He said, this isn't a sports-related question, but he said, that little baby and the baby one had me stuck. That's close. He's talking about the polls we ran on our account.
Yeah.
Got little baby versus the baby. I think the baby blows little baby out of the water. I think little baby, honestly, I can barely understand what that guy's saying when he raps. And that's fair. I mean, some people, that's their style. I respect it. But, there's a couple songs where I like. I mean, you're talking about the Drake song, Little Baby. What is that song called? That song slaps. I forget what it's called. Brand New Whip, Got New Keys. But that song's dope. But other than that, not a huge Lil Baby fan. Da Baby slaps though. You taking Da Baby or Lil Baby?
I'm taking Lil Baby. I mean,
Damn,
I
bro.
think with the baby, like,
It's too many babies, dude. Got babies
honestly,
everywhere.
but with the baby, it's like all of his songs just sound so similar for me, and
Oh,
it
that,
kind
yeah. I
of
mean,
like
you're not wrong.
right. But like, if you like that style, then obviously he's gonna be a big fan of yours. But like, I'm just not a fan of kind of him, and like if every song is the same, then I'm never gonna like him. But with Lil Baby, I really liked My Turn. I think that he has a really good set of albums. So I'm gonna take Lil Baby in this situation.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Moving on, we got TJ Freer. Will the Ravens win a Super Bowl, or will Lamar stick to being that QB that can't win the big game? I think it's completely unfair to label Lamar as a QB that can't win big games. First of all, just because like there's this thing in the NFL where if you're really young, like no, young age doesn't have to do with this. Now it does have the second part, but if you're a QB and you're really really good, people don't really account for age. Like if like Lamar, what is he? He's literally like 25 years old, 24 years old.
I think he's younger. Let me double check on that.
Yeah, he
Yeah, he's
could be like
23.
20. Yeah, he's 23 years old. So like he had a great season and then like he gets to the playoffs and I mean yeah, he's been there twice, but it's just like I think people are underestimating the fact that the guy's 23 years old.
Right.
Like everyone, Jordan didn't win in the playoffs the first whatever 3-4 times. Like it's people aren't gonna win the first time they get somewhere. It's just as good as the player might be. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is like, I mean, honestly, he probably should have went to the Super Bowl 2 years ago with those dumb overtime rules. So that's kind of an outlier. He's also the greatest quarterback of all time. But other than that, yeah, I don't know. I think people just give everyone a hard knack and they kind of forget age. It's just like, oh, you went to the playoffs and you choked after having a great season. Like, oh, you must be a choker for your career. I just don't think that's the case, especially with Lamar. With some people, maybe, but not with Lamar.
I think with Lamar, everyone kind of had the prediction of like, I don't think he's gonna be a good quarterback, and then when he kind of proved them wrong, they want to find every way possible to kind of bash him in a way. So I think that that's the only way they can really bring him down is that playoff game against Tennessee because like he just had a historical NFL season. So you definitely can't bring him down for what he did in the regular season. And if you look at what that Tennessee Titans Baltimore Ravens game looked like, I mean, Lamar didn't play the best game. I think we can both agree on that, but he wasn't a sole reason why they lost that game. A lot of it was just because that defense for Baltimore just did not play the way they did in the regular season. Derrick Henry just ran over them. So I think with Lamar, he by far has the potential to lead that Ravens team, especially if he continues and does what he did this past season. I think that this Ravens team has a great chance of becoming a Super Bowl contender even next year, even winning it all. So I think that, him just choking the playoffs is a narrative that we should not be establishing. So.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely too early in his career, especially because he was so good that we got to give him a couple chances.
Right.
And
Yeah.
also,
And if in 2 years or 3 years, it's continuing him losing in the first round, then I have no problem with saying that. But with 1 year, it's so unfair to label him as that.
So G Money, both a bunch of numbers, and Arian Kahara actually asked the same question. They said Broncos going to make the playoffs this year. I haven't gotten a chance to look at the Broncos schedule, but I do like that team a lot. Definitely very, very young, especially on the offensive side of the ball, or specifically on the offensive side of the ball. So, I mean, it might be a little bit tough for them right out of the gate, but if they don't make it this year, they're 100% going to make it next year. I do have them making a deep playoff run in the next 3-4 years. So I don't know about this year just because they're so young, but I think that they got a really good chance. What do you think?
I fell in love with this Broncos team even before they made the amazing free agency moves. I was a big fan of Locke, especially coming out of Missouri and out of college. And then you look at their free agency moves and their draft, and you just kind of have to give them like A+ for that free agency draft. So I think that they had the potential to be a 10 to 11 win team. You look at the offense, it's just phenomenal. And I think that they're going to be an exceptional team. And the great thing about that team is they're so young. So if things don't line up this year, it's obviously not the end of the world, and they have still many years in order to get to that promised land. But for me, I think that, with the AFC West, the Chiefs obviously are going to be great this year. They're going to make a deep playoff run. But with the Raiders and the Chargers, it's really not like those two teams are exceptional. So I think that the Broncos could win, 2 games against both of those teams. And obviously that helps the record. So I think that with this Broncos team, I think they have the potential to be really good this year. So I'm super excited to see them. And I think that they are by far, in my opinion, a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Lock is the truth, baby.
That's what I'm saying.
Gagel asked, this is an interesting question. Is creating fake charities to donate to for tax deductions a sport? Okay. I don't know if that's a sport, but it does sound pretty interesting, honestly. I'm pretty sure people do that all the time, honestly. Like, right?
Yeah,
like
I'll give them
I'll
give them the credit of working hard, but I don't know if that's the exact definition of a sport. But he can think whatever he wants, but I don't know. I don't think we're the right people to ask.
Yeah, I don't know much about the tax deduction area. It's not my specialty.
Right.
We could do all tax culture. Maybe that's our next
let
venture.
us know if you want us to make that account just for
all
you.
tax culture, baby. Then Cheetah John 04 said Bengals beat projections with Joe Burrow leading them. I don't know their win total, but I would say, if I had to guess, I would say the Bengals are probably at 6.5 wins. You think that's accurate?
I would say
maybe
5,
7.
Honestly.
Oh, you think that?
I think it's low. I think it's low, but
yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it might be. I would say 5.5, 6.5, maybe
something like that.
I would take the over on 5.5. I think they can win 6 games. It's hard to say.
It is.
It's hard to say with a rookie QB. I mean, it's so possible that Burrow comes about. He's really, really good. It's also possible he is, I don't know who. There's QBs that start slow and then they turn it on in season 2, 3. So
right, and it's like with this Bengals team. Like, I look at this team and they're getting Jonah Williams back as I think gonna be a really good offensive tackle. Zach Taylor I think is gonna work really well with Joe Burrow. So you kind of look at this Bengals team and you realize they're going to be, they have the potential to be a lot better than people say, just like his question's asking. But and then you look at last year and you realize how bad they were. So it's kind of hard to predict that in a way. But if I had to guess a win total off the top of my head, I'd probably go 5 or 5.5. That's just my guess. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. I think they're probably going to go undefeated, maybe the Super Bowl. I'm not sure,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. We got Big Joe's Restaurant of Mac a Chillin'. Okay, it's an interesting name. He says Jimmy Neutron will be traded to the Bills. All right, Jimmy Neutron. He would be a decent football player. He's a little small, but he's got a big head, so I feel like he'd be able to brain blast or some shit and study out. He would just know how to beat everyone. So
if
that's
he
an interesting
goes
move
to
from
the Bills, then I think Josh Allen's got to watch out. But
yeah, I agree. I mean, that's going to take at least 3 first-rounders. Jimmy Neutron,
exactly.
And you got Carl Weezer too. They're obviously a package deal, so that's tough right there. That's a bold prediction, honestly.
I just love how the name of the person who asked the question.
How does he think about that?
Right, and then just the question is just altogether amazing.
Yeah, that guy's nice. We might have to add that guy to All Sports Culture. I like that.
Right. Let's get him on the podcast next week.
Yeah, we're talking cartoon trades that could happen in the NFL. That's our next post.
Yeah.
Then we got TYB something EJ. He says Patriots will not tank and will have above 9 wins. I totally disagree. I'm not sure the Patriots are going to tank. I just don't think they can win 9 games. I just don't think it's possible. The defense is really good, but if Jarrett Stidham is your quarterback, I mean, I don't know. I just don't. It's possible this guy comes in, he's Jimmy G, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
So I think with this Patriots team, if you look at their offensive weapons, you have Edelman, and that's about it. I want to classify Jarrett Stidham as a good.
Sony Michel, baby.
Yeah, but
he's all right.
Stidham has not proved anything. I mean, like you said, he could literally be the next Tom Brady, and of course that would happen with the Patriots. But I just don't know so far to make a judgment on that call. But I think that with Belichick, he's the best coach of all time, and I think that if anyone's going to lead this team to victory, it's him. And I think that they have a chance to go I think they're going to go 7-9, 8-8. But like I said, anything can happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if they get at 10 wins and just shock the world and just win a Super Bowl. Bill Belichick's yeah,
That would be insane.
I did it. So
I mean, he's got magic, but I don't know if he's got witchcraft or whatever that would be. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. The Patriots are going to get Trevor Lawrence. They're going to win 7 out of the next 9 Super Bowls,
right.
And then we're fucked. But moving on, we got Rashad Mohan, 11. He said, "Who had a better career, Shaq or Duncan?" That's a good question. I would say Duncan had a better career if you take into account all the championships. Obviously, Shaq won a ton himself, but I also think that moving around to a bunch of different teams is kind of a legacy tainter a little bit. It hurts a little bit. I would say Duncan did it with one team his entire career. Mm-hmm. He obviously had incredible stats. Shaq is definitely more dominant, and I think that if he kept himself in shape his entire career and really cared more about basketball rather than letting his ego get in the way and all of that, I think that he probably would have had one of the best careers ever. But like I said, he kind of fell off a little bit at the end. He just let himself go. But I would say Duncan. It's hard to say, though, but Shaq is definitely the better player to me, in my opinion, at their primes.
Yeah, so I'm basically going to reiterate what you said. I think that when you're looking at in their primes, Shaq was a better player. But if you're looking at a career overview, you look at Duncan, and even when he was ending, the end of his career in 2014, he still was a major impact on that Spurs team. So I think that throughout his career, he was still performing at a high level. But you look at Shaq, he kind of fell off at the end, had to switch to so many teams. And I think, like you said, that kind of brings down his career, I guess, status or legacy. So for me, I think from a career perspective, I would go with Tim Duncan. But just looking at the player in their prime who is better, I would go Shaq. So
yeah, I mean, no one likes to watch someone that just dinks it off the backboard for 25 points a night, but that's what Duncan did, and it was effective, and he won a lot of games. So
right,
Shaq was definitely more interesting to watch, but
yeah,
Duncan's a beast too. NFL Throne, shout out to AJ, asked, "Will Dez ever play a snap again?" I don't really think so. I don't see how he would be a major contributor to a team. I mean, it's possible he does get signed, but I think it would be 3 receptions. It'd be like Demaryius Thomas, basically, what he is now, and probably even less.
Yeah.
I just feel like, obviously, the injuries, and it's been a while, so.
I kind of feel bad because with Dez, when he signed with the Saints, that was 2 years ago, I think. That's pretty exciting, and I think that everyone's excited to see what he could do, but then he got injured in practice, and you're like, dang. So I think he won't play a meaningful snap, but maybe it's one of those situations where the Dallas Cowboys bring him back on a one-day contract and let him retire as a Cowboy. But I don't think that, he would still take a snap in that instance. So for me, I would go with no. And I can't really think of a team off the top of my head that would need a wide receiver like Dez Bryant. So I think for me, it's very unlikely to see him kind of participate and be a huge contributor to a NFL team. So
TWD 808 asked, Saints lose, or he said Saints lose in the Super Bowl. I think it's fair. I mean, the Saints are definitely a really good team. Drew Brees coming back for one more year. Then he's headed to TV. Drew Brees is an unbelievable quarterback. I feel like he's underrated all the time. People don't really respect him year after year. He's at the top of this statistics leaderboards. But at the same time, how much playoff success has he really had besides that one Super Bowl win?
Yeah. I agree with that. I think
especially outdoors. So it's
yeah.
Yeah. I don't see them making the Super Bowl in my opinion.
I think the Saints team, they were always on top of the NFC South, but now with the Buccaneers, with Brady, Gronk, just name off how good that Buccaneers team is. But I think now you have to factor in how it's going to be a tough division even to win. So I think that the Saints having their chance in the last couple of years to just always win that division, go and get a, obviously a high seed in the NFL playoffs, and then work your way to the Super Bowl. They never really succeeded. So I think that now, especially with Breeze, and I'm not taking anything away from Breeze, I think he's a phenomenal quarterback, but taking away that he is, having 1 or 2 years left and he's going to retire, head off the TV, then I think that you have to realize that it's probably not going to come soon, or probably not going to come that he's going to win a Super Bowl. So I'm going to have to go with no, and I don't expect the Saints to make the Super Bowl or win it this year.
Yeah, I agree with that. Then we got Matt Sully asked, why is Sully the best human being ever? Oh, this guy, look at this guy. He knows what's up, man. Matt Sully,
I agree
you're
with
a
him,
genius. Yeah, that guy's smart as fuck, dude. All right. Then we got Steph Fonte. TJ Watt will win Defensive Player of the Year. I think that's incredibly accurate, in my opinion. Like, I think that's like a great prediction. TJ Watt's definitely a beast. Who won Defensive Player of the Year last year? Was it Gilmore?
I think it was Gilmore.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
TJ Watt, obviously. TJ Watt was like, he came in second or third. I know that.
Right.
So he has a great chance. Obviously, Steelers have a great defense. That always helps when you're playing with a great defense. So I think TJ Watt that's a great prediction in my opinion. Do you have a different option?
No, I think that he is a good option, especially I think a lot of it has to do with kind of team success. And I'm not saying that the Steelers aren't going to have a good year, but, with a tough division, I think that maybe because I expect the Browns to do a lot better. If they go like 5-11 or like 6-10, I don't think it's going to happen. Then maybe you're like, okay, he shouldn't win it. But I think that there's a good chance. He is a phenomenal player. And like you said, he's kind of progressively got better each year. I think the odds have Donald in first, but I think maybe another player looking at is Nick Bosa. And I think
was going to say him, yeah, that's a good option.
Look at his rookie year. He did phenomenal. And if he can have that sophomore jump, especially with the 49ers kind of continuing to do very well, then I think that he could be a good possibility to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah. Also, Myles Garrett's up there.
Yeah.
If he can stay on the field and not assault anyone with his helmet. But
if he can keep his helmet on, then
yeah, I think that's a good pick. We got Nick Sargent 2 actually. Says Packers win the NFC North again. I agree. Vikings is definitely a really solid team. Lions are obviously not great, but they're also tough with Stafford. If Stafford's in, it's a tough team to play. The Bears, obviously good defense, but Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, whoever it is, I think it's unlikely they get a ton of production out of the QB position, no matter who it is. So the Bears probably don't really have a chance there. And the Packers had a draft that almost didn't improve their team in any sense, but I still feel like maybe you light a fire under Rodgers. He's got at least 2 more years of good football left in him, in my opinion. So I would have them winning that NFC North.
Yeah,
do you have the Vikings?
I don't have like a, everything that you said is kind of my opinion. I think that the Vikings did very well in the draft, and obviously the Packers. Everyone knows my feelings towards that draft, but I think that even looking at the Packers team, they still were 1-1 away from the Super Bowl, and I think that they still have an incredible roster. So for me, I still have them winning the division. And, in all honesty, I think it's going to be kind of with these. I think they win it with by 2 or 3 wins instead of kind of like a close battle at the end. So I have the Packers and by kind of a wide margin.
So Anthony Stewart 13 said top 10 greatest QBs of all time. All right. Well, I don't got the brain power to list off the top 10 greatest QBs of all time, like off the top of my head. But I could tell you that Tom Brady is number 1, undoubtedly. If we're talking greatest, Tom Brady's number 1. I really don't think that there's a debate. Just look at all the rings. It's really all you need to know. Team success. He has the individual accolades as well. That number 2, I guess Montana, honestly.
I would go Montana,
a lot of people argue Montana might be greater than Brady. I don't think so, but got to put Montana second. After that, it definitely gets pretty murky, I'd say.
I feel like some people – I think – I don't want to seem kind of recency biased, but I think with 3, 4, 5, I don't know the correct order. I would probably go like Breeze, Manning, and either like –
Yeah, I'd probably put Peyton at 3rd, I'd say.
Yeah, and then – probably Breeze at 4, and then maybe at 5 you have like You could go Rodgers. I know that's a kind of a not a popular answer, or you could go like, Johnny Unitas. I'm just kind of trying to think of some quarterbacks.
Yeah,
you
maybe
could
like
put
Johnny
there.
Manziel.
I agree.
Yeah, Johnny Manziel, then probably Jamarcus Russell,
Nathan
and then
Peterman.
Nathan Peterman's up there. Yeah, that's about our top 10. That rounds it out. Shug9 asked Breeze or Brady. If you're talking now, I'm taking Breeze 100%. Talking career, obviously taking Brady. What do you think?
No, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think Brady can throw the ball more than like 25 yards anymore, but he'll probably prove me wrong, and I'm happy if he will. So We'll see. Tua will be a top 5 QB in the league within 5 years. Does he have the talent? Yeah. Does he have the athleticism? Yes. Does he have the durability? Not really. Do the Dolphins have an offensive line? No. So it's going to be tough for him to stay healthy and all that. So, I mean, it's possible. We'll see. What do you think? Top 5 QB in 5 years? What would you say?
I just think there's so many good quarterbacks in the league. And, like, every year you have, like, a quarterback that everyone's so excited about, and they make the same argument. They're like, he's going to be a top 5 quarterback in 5 years. And it's like, I mean, okay, he has the potential to be
really, you can't have
like
you can't have 15 top 5 quarterbacks.
Right, exactly. And, like, not everyone's going to be like a Patrick Mahomes, who did become a top 5 quarterback in the next 5 years. But, like, I mean, and it's like so hard to predict. Like, I don't know if like he's going to like set a rookie touchdown record next year, if he's going to get injured week 2, you know what I mean? So it's like, I think it's so hard to predict that, but I mean, I think he has the talent and he has the ability to. It's just, will the Dolphins, not mess it up and put him in a great position to win and stay healthy? It's kind of the biggest question for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. Matt Sam, shout out Matty, he's the homie. He said Pete Rose Hall of Fame. Honestly, I don't know anything about this. Did he do steroids and they won't let him in? Is that what it is?
I think I'm not too big on baseball history. I think he bet on I think he bet on games he played in.
What? Let that man in. That's dope.
I let me just double check that super fast.
That's sick. If that is true, he's my favorite athlete. Like, he bet on his own team, or he bet on the enemy team? Or like
maybe like
team?
I could be completely wrong, but I think that's the reason. But if that is the reason, then that's legendary.
Yeah, that's dope. If you bet on your own team, you should be able to do that. All power to you. Like, you're trying to win regardless. Like, if you bet, like, you're not like, you know what I mean? In my opinion, I don't know. I feel like if you bet, like, it's not changing how you play. You're not like, maybe you play harder. That's good if that's the case. I don't know. I really don't think betting on your own team should be a problem.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out if I'm completely right, but we're just gonna go with that,
Yeah, so we're gonna go with Pete Rose is the number one athlete of all time. All right,
here's what it says: Rose was banned for life from Major League Baseball for allegedly betting on the game. So we think that it is, but at the same time, we also support gambling. So
yeah, I mean, everyone loves gambling. Come on. Then we got Winchester Nathan says chances of the Chiefs repeating this year. I think very, very high. I think Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. When you got the best quarterback in the league, plus a defense that actually isn't as bad as everyone thought it was. But the second half of the year and into the playoffs, the Chiefs had like a top 7 defense. They got hot at the right time. So honestly, do I think that's going to continue over? Hard to say. But right now, you got Mahomes on your rookie contract. I think it's entirely possible they rattle off maybe. I mean, I think I think they're going to win next year. After that, he'll probably get an extension. But I think he should win this year, the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs kind of have no reason not to win it. It's basically the same exact team. Mahomes still on his rookie contract. Like, you have every reason to repeat as champions. So, and I think that we all, for the most part, can kind of agree that the Chiefs are at least the best, or if not the second best team in the AFC or even in the NFL. So I think that, Chiefs is Super Bowl. I like it.
Yeah, and like I said, I think they would have won 2 years ago if Mahomes was able to get the ball in overtime.
Right.
It's like, because that was the Patriots played the Rams, right?
Yeah, they did.
2 years
it was
ago?
like the most boring.
And the Rams scored 3 points?
Yeah,
scored 3 points, right? Like Mahomes was obviously ringing 48 on their heads. Like everyone knows that. So,
Right.
like, dude, do you remember that Rams Chiefs game 2 years ago? That was the
Yeah.
best thing I've ever watched.
The Monday Night Football game?
That is the best. Besides Booger, that was the best football game I've ever watched.
No, it was great. It was great.
That shit was crazy. But yeah, Chiefs repeating. You heard it here first. We got A.J._E. Okay, that's an interesting name. He says best worst scenario for the Atlanta Falcons. So I assume he's asking the best season they could have and the worst. Worst season, the Falcons are pretty much like they're kind of like the Eagles, in my opinion, that you always think they're going to do really well, and then they end up with their entire team hurt, and then they kind of just like fall apart. And Matt Ryan always has a pretty solid year, just like Carson Wentz always has a pretty solid year. Matt Ryan definitely has more weapons than Carson Wentz, to be fair, but they did lose Cooper, which kind of sucks. But I also consider Hooper be kind of a system tight end to me, in my opinion. I mean, he's definitely better than whatever they have right now. But I think it's a huge loss. They got Gurley on the 1-year deal. I think that could be huge for them, depending on how he turns out. I think just health is the biggest thing. I think the Falcons have a chance to win 9-10 games. They're talented. Matt Ryan's still a really good quarterback, but like I said, they could still be a walking hospital and win 5-6 games again.
Yeah. So the Falcons every year, I have someone tell me that they're a playoff team, and they're not a playoff team. So I don't understand. And, I think that trend continues this year. I think Matt Ryan's going to have a good year. I remember last year everyone was telling me that the Falcons are going to go to like the NFC Championship, and I was like, I mean, I just don't see it. But I was right because that's the all sports culture way. But I think that
Are you talking shit?
I think that with the Falcons, their ceiling is like, for me, like 9-7, and the 4 is like 5-11, 6-10. So I expect them to be like a 500 team.
That's fair. We got person 31.4 said Justin Herbert comes in at midseason but gets benched soon due to poor performance. When was the last time you've seen a QB come in midseason, then they get benched for like that is not the way you do a rookie QB. If you bring them in, which I think it's unlikely that they do bring him in, well, maybe for like the last 3 games, but if you're bringing him in before like week 8, I think it's unlikely that you bench him just because you bring in a rookie quarterback, he doesn't do too hot, and then you bench him. You destroys his confidence. It just puts a bad taste between him and management and him and the coaching staff and all that. That's just not something you want to do to a rookie. You're kind of expecting them to struggle a little bit, make mistakes. So I think that it's unlikely that he'd get benched midseason if he were to come in. But I think it's also possible he only plays 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much to add on. I think you kind of covered it well. I don't know. I think that what you said basically sums up my own opinion. So
look at that, dude. We're on the same page.
Exactly.
I'm going to let you answer this one first this time, all right?
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to hit it to you. It's a softball. Maybe not. It's a little bit of an interesting one. We got Brady Bender, 56, says Peyton Manning, the GOAT. He broke every record faster. What do you have to say about that?
With Manning, I think that a lot of people think that I'll give you this. I think Manning is better than Breeze. I think that you look at Manning, everything is done in his career, and from statistical point of view, he is very good. But how are you going to put him ahead of the guy who's won 6 rings and is constantly considered one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and Tom Brady? And then you go back to Joe Montana and everything he did. I don't think it's very possible to put them ahead of them. But I think that you're right on the track if you think that he's a top 3 quarterback. I'm not mad about that opinion. Look at what he did with the Colts, and even with the Broncos winning that 2nd ring, then I think that, he was very good. And I think that, the argument of he is a top 3 quarterback better than Manning is one that I agree with, but I wouldn't put him as the GOAT of quarterbacks.
All right. Underrated asks, Eagles are a contender, or he said, Eagles are a contender for years to come with Wentz under center. I mean, the problem with Wentz is everyone knows he's good. He just can't stay on the field. I mean, every playoff game he's went into, he's left with an injury. A lot of games he doesn't even make it to. A lot of seasons he doesn't even make it to the playoffs. So Eagles are solid. It's just Wentz's health is really the thing holding them back. So in my opinion, that's really all that matters.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
think?
if he can stay healthy, I mean, you saw that, even when they won the Super Bowl, how good he was in the regular season. I think that, like, you know, he's not the problem on why they, I think from a health standpoint, he is a problem, but talent wise, he obviously isn't. So I think that if he can stay on the field, then your argument's correct. I think that they can be a playoff contender for the years to come. But the problem is every year it just seems like there is an injury or something that he can't stay on the field. So, if he can help deal with that health problem, then I like your argument. But until he can prove that he can stay on the field, because like we've seen in the past, the man just has gotten replaced because of his health problems. So I think that, if he can stay healthy, then I'm not opposed to your argument.
Yeah, and honestly, it's not even just his health either. Like the entire Eagles are just
Right.
It's a walking hospital over there. So
Yeah.
they got to get a new doctor or something. Maybe I could fill in for a day, or I don't know.
I like it.
Underrated also as Dallas won't pay Dak and move on from him after. I don't. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. Underrated said Dallas won't pay Dak and move. Yeah. Underrated said Dallas won't pay Dak and move on from him after the 2020 season. I don't think so, just because it's very rare you get everyone knows Dak is a solid QB. Like even borderline like where he's on the level where you want him as a franchise quarterback, in my opinion. It's tough to say if he can really bring you to the next level, but when you find a quarterback like that where you're happy and you're stable, and it's very rare that you move on from that. I would say the last time that happened was like Kirk Cousins with Washington. But I think Dak has shown that is probably yeah, I would say Dak has shown that he's probably better than Kirk Cousins was in Washington, in my opinion. I just don't see that moving on from Dak.
Yeah. For me, I think that they're going to stick with Dak, but in all honesty, I think it's the best decision that they move on from Dak, because we've seen that, at least in my opinion, I think that it's better if you don't pay your because Dak's going to want 35 plus million a year, which in my opinion is absurd. And I think that he's a phenomenal quarterback, but the fact that he wants that much, I think is just, I don't agree with it. So I think that if you're looking at a financial standpoint and you can rock with like Dalton, or if you don't want to rock with Dalton and you want to rock with like Cam Newton's going to take a lot less than Dak Prescott, or if you want to find like another quarterback like Tyrod Taylor, there's a lot of quarterbacks out there who are going to, accept a lot less money than Dak Prescott will. Then I think, in my opinion, it just makes more sense, because you can help keep that offensive line that everyone just loves, help establish that defense. And I think that, you look at the supporting cast around Dallas and they have a chance to, with a few pieces, be super good. And I think with the quarterback under center, you don't need that phenomenal quarterback like Dak. You can rock with a Dalton or a Tyrod Taylor, who is not the best quarterback, but just gets the job done, and is amazing from a financial standpoint. So I think that that's the path they should head in. But what I think is going to happen is I think they're going to pay Dak like $37 million a year. And I think that it's going to take a toll on them for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they will pay Dak, and I think that it might come to bite them in the end. They'll never really have great success. But in my opinion, I just don't see them. Even if it is the right move to move on, I just don't see them moving on. It's just like when you get a QB like that, everyone's like, you're just mortified to like let them go. I feel like because QBs are pretty rare. So, yeah. Micah asked Devin Booker, shout out SC. Devin Booker is better than Donovan Mitchell and Drew Holiday. I just like I don't really like these questions, honestly. It's impossible to say, let's be honest. Like Devin Booker has had no team success. He drops like 30 points a night. He is pretty efficient. He's obviously a really good scorer. Everyone knows that. He doesn't play great defense. I mean, Donovan Mitchell's obviously been on a better career his entire career. He's been on a better team. Drew Holiday also hasn't had much playoff success, but he also plays great defense. He's a pretty good scorer, does pretty much everything. I mean, it's so hard to compare these players, like especially when they're in such different circumstances. But if you're going to make me pick them, I would say I'd probably take Donovan Mitchell, then I would take Booker, then I would take Drew Holiday.
Yeah, I agree with the three, kind of the order you went in. I think it's so hard because with Booker, his team's so bad, but he is really good on that team. So, I would like to see him kind of in a winning culture, winning team, and see how he does there. Is he still going to drop like 30 a night, or is he going to obviously take a toe back and drop like 15? It's just hard to say. With Mitchell, he came into the league and was already on a winning team, made the playoffs his rookie season, and then Drew Holiday, hasn't had the success from a team perspective as Donovan Mitchell, but, he's done a lot better with his team than Devin Booker has. So I think that it's so hard to compare them, but I agree with you. I think the order I would go in is Mitchell, Booker, and Holiday, but it's just so hard to compare them for the fact that they're in such different circumstances. So.
That's it for episode 4 of Highlighted, the All Sports Culture podcast. We had a blast answering all your questions. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get through all of them, so we can revisit them in next week's episodes. If you guys want to see more Q&As like this, just let us know. And remember to leave a rating on Apple Podcasts and a like on YouTube if you guys are watching over there. But for now, Sully and Kurt out.